All right, so apparently Derek Chisora versus Jarrell Big Farmer Miller is apparently being finalised for February the 8th up in Manchester. This obviously would be part of Frank Warren, Queensbury, I believe, is who now promotes Derek Chisora. Yeah, this would be obviously Chisora's second to last fight. So obviously he mapped out this retirement plan after his win over Gerald Washington, that he would have one more fight in London at the O2, that he'd have one more fight in Manchester, and then this would culminate in the end of his career. I believe it would be his 50th pro fight in his native Zimbabwe in Africa. I think it was Zimbabwe anyway. So that's Chisora's plan. Now, personally for me, before we go into details with the Jarrell Miller potential fight, listen, I get what he's trying to do. He wants to kind of go out and kind of have a victory lap, so to speak, but I think Chisora against Joyce, because I didn't think he'd win that fight. I was really surprised that he was able to come through that fight, and as it dropped Joe Joyce as well, I thought that was tailor-made for Joe Joyce to come back against and really look good against. I was wrong. I do think that was the good way to go. At the O2 Arena, where you've had some big nights, they're singing your name, I thought that was a good way to go. That was a great way to bow out. But obviously Chisora wants to do it his way, fair enough. But the reason why I think that that's the best way to bow out is because 2 more fights could be the difference between him, and I don't even want to say living comfortably, because when you hear Chisora in interviews now, you can tell that like there is the speech is, there's something amiss there. I don't like hearing that with fighters, and you kind of hope that they won't aggravate it any more than they already have. And 2 fights against someone like Jarrell Miller, who has a high punch output. Yeah, he's not the biggest puncher in the world, but you don't want to be taking loads of shots to the head, certainly at this point in your career, especially if maybe, you don't have to be a doctor to realize that, like, look, the way he's sounding, it's not 100%. It's not as good as he was sounding, say, a decade ago, put it like that. So you do worry about that. Now, that's the plan Chisora has. He wants to finish it in Africa, and, all right, one more fight in Manchester and then finish it off in Africa, fair enough. Against Jarrell Miller, it's being reported that it's finalised for February the 8th up in Manchester, so it would be one of the kind of first cards of the new year. January is normally a quiet month, and I don't think there's much happening in the month of January in terms of fights being announced. It's really all happening in December, isn't it? Up until, actually, even after Christmas, there's those New Year's Eve shows in Japan. But it's really all kind of up until Christmas is when all the fights are happening. January is a bit dead, I think. Anyway, I don't recall many fights being announced. And then February is like straight back into it. So him against Miller. Now, Miller hasn't looked the same, thankfully, since, well, his third PED test failed. It was a third, yeah. No, second or third. Although he had back-to-back ones with Joshua. The Joshua fight, and then he was meant to fight, forget who he was meant to fight, but he was meant to fight on a top-ranked show. And obviously we know what happened there. Miller has looked to not have the same stamina, so you would imagine he's most likely clean. He's coming in off the back of a draw, a controversial draw at that, against Andy Ruiz. I felt like Jarrell Miller did enough to win the fight. Some people would argue maybe that's karma, turnabout is fair play, that, he's failed multiple tests for multiple different substances and has been unwilling to really acknowledge it or admit any wrongdoing, and just seems very brazen in his approach that look, it's this, that, and the other. Well, you fail back-to-back tests, so there you go figure. Him against Chisora, it would be, look, on paper, I mean, I look at those 2 styles and I think, yeah, that could be a fun fight. It could really be. I remember when Miller was in his, let's say, quote-unquote prime. We all know how the prime came about, but let's say that. There was a lot of people making comparisons between him and Chisora. Many people were saying that Miller was actually a better version of Derek Chisora, that, he just had a little bit more to him. We all know now the reasons why, but a lot of people thought that. So, this would be, kind of both guys meeting. I guess you could say Miller is kind of in a kind of twilight stage in his career as well, because he's not the youngest heavyweight in the world. As I said, time out of the ring, multiple failed PED tests, and going in there against a Chisora who is definitely seen better days, it's fair to say. If Chisora could get this win, then you're talking Washington. It's not a great win, but it's a win nonetheless. Washington, Joyce, and Miller. That's not a bad little last couple of fights, to be fair. And ultimately, who will be his 50th? My theory, and it is just a theory, so don't just don't shoot me down for this. My theory is this: Dylan White fought with the BUI sanction in his fight in Ireland, the Boxing Union of Ireland, uses a Texas license, is fighting in Gibraltar. I would imagine the BUI or someone will sanction it because they've done it once, why wouldn't they do it again? In the hope that maybe he could beat Chisora's 50th fight him in Zimbabwe, again, avoiding the British Boxing Board of control and just make money that way. I would imagine that's what he's trying to do. He's obviously not going to fight him in Manchester because that would be under the auspices of the British Boxing Board, and we know Dylan White, apparently that's not cleared up yet. If it was, he wouldn't be fighting in Gibraltar. So that's what I think is the plan for Chisora, that have this Miller fight. If you win, happy days. If you lose, so be it. And then fight Dylan White in the 50th fight in Zimbabwe. Whoever the commission is in Africa or whoever would be in the native Zimbabwe, they'll sanction it. They probably wouldn't give a damn. They'll probably let Dylan White fight. So that's what I think is going to happen. So let me know your thoughts. Like I said, it's on paper, it's an entertaining fight. Still, you know, it's a good fight on paper, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think Chisora should just say, look, bowing out with that Joe Joyce win, I'm having this victory lap, but is it worth it if it causes long-term damage, even if he wins these next two fights? Let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Subscribe, of course, as always, if you haven't already. Until next time, people, I'll talk to you. Peace.